11:10 now the time. Welcome to the Mornings of Ed show on the Albany Voice of Laguna, as we do each and every Monday at this time. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Anita Wang. Where I'll be honest with you, some of the off-air conversations are absolutely wild. I am learning about a trip she just took that was incredible with college students doing non-college students.
No, it wasn't a college student.
Oh. Okay, tell us the story. First of all, she is first and foremost a scientist, an emergency room surgeon, and you're going to hear some incredible stories about the emergency room today, and a practitioner of the best wellness facility anywhere along the West Coast. We welcome Dr. Anita Wang. Good morning, Dr. Wang.
Good morning. It was lovely to be here.
So you're telling me the story of having flown back to Michigan. Your son's at Michigan State, and what happened?
Finals week, right? And so Sunday night, they told us that it was a science fair, and it was the elementary, whatever, middle school, and they had a chemical spill. But they did this in the middle of the exam hall.
Right.
So they had to close it down and they had to push all the exams.
Right.
So instead of my son being done on a Wednesday, he had his exams now were on the Thursday. So pushed everything back, and you had to be out of the school by Friday. So as we're learning about it, it turns out it was a 36-year-old gentleman. Maybe he's a cleaning crew, who knows what. But 36-year-old who was cooking meth.
Not part of the science project curriculum, right?
No, and had a spill. And so then they had to clean it up, and they had to cancel all finals for that Monday and move them all further down the line.
Oh my God! All right. Well, I'm glad. Hopefully, no one was injured, because that's dangerous.
Yeah, they could have
right
an
there.
explosion, or
Right.
it could have some other.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was just a spill. I don't know how.
You know, all drugs, and I'll say this: all drugs are bad, but meth seems to be a huge scourge. It is the lowest of the low. It is the cheapest of the cheap, and the easiest for those that want to do drugs to incinerate themselves with.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll start with that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We'll talk about what you've got coming up on the 14th here in just a minute. But in the emergency room, I'm positive that you had to have seen some people that come in meth overdosed or on
Oh
meth.
my gosh. Yeah. So I think that back in the day, I think that the drug of choice was PCP.
Right.
Those were fun.
Right.
We don't see that as much, but we used to have a padded room because they're just so wild and uncontainable. We would just throw them in the room, and they would just bounce themselves off of this padded room for a while, as long as they're breathing, and but they would just knock themselves silly, all bouncing around in there.
Right.
So PCP was the wild one. So I think we don't see that as much because of the unpredictable reactions that people get, and they get these hallucinations, and they just go holistic. Right.
It's no longer the boutique drug that it was
Right.
at one time. It was also the cheapest.
Right.
Because you could literally dip a cigarette in formaldehyde, some kind of mixture, a regular cigarette, into some kind of formaldehyde and another chemical, and that would get you that high like PCP.
Yeah. Well, now we just have people who are doing meth, and then this one guy who has been doing, I don't know, a gram a day or whatever it was. He was a daily user, and then he figured, I really need to be up. I really need to do it. So I'm just going to take all that I have right now. I'm just going to take the 3 grams that I have right now, all at once.
Right.
Well, he's not here anymore. Let me just tell you.
Of
So
course.
it was a bit too much for the system to detoxify and handle, and it was way too much for him.
So,
Even though he had a high tolerance, but he just swallowed too much.
right, I can spot a meth guy a mile away. You really can. It's in the eyes, it's in the face, and it's in the smell.
Yeah.
There's a stench that comes off of the body of a person who uses meth.
The tweakers, right?
The tweakers. It is
Yeah, we
unlike
call them
anything
all
else. And
tweakers.
again, downtown here, you see, you can tell, you've seen him a couple of times.
Yeah.
You were at Cook County, Cook
Yes.
County Hospital.
Yeah.
It's a high volume urban emergency room, like a MASH unit, if you will.
Right. So back this is so, and my training has been quite a while. I don't know if they've changed things, but at that time, and Cook County is known for being high for traumas. And the way that was set up back in the day, I think they've renovated things, but we were on the second floor.
Okay.
And so pretty much we're like the MASH unit, we're sitting around playing cards, just relaxing, kicking back, and then we'd have the buzzer would ring. It would ring, and then we like incoming, and we would start rushing around, and then they would call on the phone, and they say we got 4 gunshot wounds, 1 jumper, or whatever was coming in all at once.
Right.
And so then we would prep for it all we'd do, and then they would roll them all in. And at that time, we didn't do what we do now. So, I mean, medicine's changed so much since I've been, but we wouldn't do, you didn't do a CT, you didn't do a fast ultrasound, where now you can look at an ultrasound and look how much blood there is. We actually had to do a peritoneal lavage. So I remember that day.
What is it?
Where you put in a tube into the belly, fill it up with fluid, a liter of fluid, and then let it drain out to see if there was any evidence that there was blood in there.
Okay.
And then they would have to go to surgery. So I had, at that time, I don't remember all their injuries, but I remember there was at least 4 to 5 of them, and I had them in a row, and I just stuck one after another belly, put all the fluids in, drain them out, and then one came back with lots of blood, and I would call him, the surgeon said, okay, this one's got to go to the OR. Okay, this guy can go to our observation unit, which was right next to our MASH. So we would monitor the obs people.
Right.
So if everything else on him didn't show anything major, head trauma, anything else, chest, anything, and he just had this penetrating abdominal wound, but didn't seem like it was leaking or bleeding or he was infected or losing his blood pressure or anything, I put him in the obs and let them take care of the more critical one, because I can only put so many to surgery.
Right.
So that one went to surgery, one went to urology, one went to orthopedics, one went to observations. So it was triaging that way, and that was the kind of MASH unit that we had up there. Those were my fun days. I enjoyed that.
When someone gets shot, I can imagine the damage that a hot piece of lead does to the human body if it hits an organ or something. I get that. In pulling a bullet out of someone, are there times where it's advantageous to leave a bullet in?
Yeah, it depends on the location, because if it's in a blood vessel or somewhere,
Right.
and you're not bleeding, I'm not going to disrupt that.
Right.
But if it's in the subcutaneous, I did a lot of retrieval of evidence for police,
Right.
because they would want the ballistics, so
Right.
we would do that. My favorite thing would always be the gunshot to the chest. That was probably salvage. Well, I don't think that maybe they do that as often now, the thoracotomies, but
A thoracotomy is?
where you open up the chest,
Okay.
right? So that's my favorite, because at the time, it was like an orchestra, or it was like a ballet. And sometimes when I go, and now I get my thrills at a well-run dining experience, because when you're sitting there and you can see at a high-end restaurant, you see that the waiter comes, gets your order, you get your drink, the drink person drops it off, they clean up the table, they sweep it up, they
It is
bring
like
it
a ballet.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's just runs so smoothly,
Right.
and I'm always impressed with that, because that's what it was like when I would crack a chest. So I was like, okay, everybody would see that, and the nurses, my team, would know right away. So I'm cracking the chest. I didn't have to say. They knew it if I knew it. They got the thoracotomy tray. They get the vacuum, the chest tube, and get the vacuum containers that we were going to get the blood out, and then the clamp. So we would open it up. I'd see that there's a hole in the heart, and you'd clamp the aorta, so you'd shut the blood flow to everything else, and then I would plug up the hole in the heart with the Foley and do that, and then you get at that time we didn't have trauma surgeons. This is how back in the day it was.
Right.
Well, we didn't have trauma surgeons, so then I'd call our general surgeons at that place at our level 1 trauma centers. They were the ones that would come in and take over. Eventually we had actual trauma surgeon. I think if I had just been a little bit later in my career, I would have been a trauma surgeon, because that was fun for me. So, and then and when they went smoothly, because not everything goes smooth, But my best memory is of the case that went so smooth, and we were able to resuscitate him. I mean, he obviously still died on the table in the OR, but
you were able to resuscitate.
I was to get him out of the ER alive. If I could get him out of the ER alive onto the operating table, that was a success for me.
Okay.
What happened in the OR after that's no.
You did your job. You successfully got them to the OR.
I got the golden hour. You have the golden hour to resuscitate them, and I was able to do that.
Well, congratulations there. I want to just. You're already getting love from the audience here on the Text Connect, and they've been waiting all week to hear these stories. When you clamp an aorta, you just said you clamped an aorta, that obviously stops blood flowing through the aorta. Do you only have a certain amount of time that can be clamped?
Yes.
What is that time?
It
depends on the hole in the heart.
Yeah, so right. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Minutes, but I can't.
Minutes only, yeah.
It's been a long time since I've had to recall that, so.
Okay. There won't be a quiz.
There'll be a thoracic surgeon that's going to say, you don't know what you're talking about.
So you used the term jumpers earlier when you said they brought in gunshots and jumpers. Do you mean people that have actually jumped?
Oh yeah. So I had a couple cases that were fun from Cook County. This one is, because we're very jaded, as you call me,
Right.
and
Right.
So this guy jumped from that hospital. I think it was the 4th floor window. He dove and he hit the railing right out the back door where we go to the cafeteria.
Okay.
So, and it was wintertime. So they cleaned up, the ground and everything, but they missed the railing. So there was still a piece of skull and brain on the railing. And we just had bets on how long that thing would stay there, because it was all winter long, right? Because it's going to have to, when is it going to thaw, when is it going to fall off, and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you'd walk by everything. We all lost. The cat got it before it defrosted all the way and fell off.
Oh man. All right. See, these are the stories we're looking for. Dr. Anita Wang sharing some of the really amazing things that she's experienced in her life.
I forgot about these things. You had
I'm glad you're remembering them. Burr holes.
So this other jumper, so the other jumper that came in, she pretty much was gone. But she came in, but what I really remember about her is because I always tell patients about, how important our muscle structure is. And it's not about, no dissing on chiropractors, but it's not about the bones being in alignment. It's really your muscle structure. Obviously, if you have one shorter leg, your gut muscles are going to be it's going to be off. You're going to have muscle spasms.
Right.
So getting things in line, all the bones in line, but it's really the muscles that get them and hold them there, right?
Like when I had hip surgery, before and after, they only wanted me to work on my muscles.
Yeah. So the muscles is what key. So and that saying, the bag of bones,
right?
Because we are a bag of bones, except for if you put the bones together, they don't stay together. It's the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, the muscles that holds it up. Well, this lady was a bag of bones.
Ooh.
I picked up her arm, and it was just like just a bag of bones. Every X-ray, she was like the whole thing, just a bag of bones. I just remember.
She didn't make it.
Yeah, and you don't understand, but
Right. You can say whatever. You can say whatever.
No, because it's disrespectful to
okay.
them, right?
To the families.
Yes.
Right. Okay. You're just home run after home run here. You talked about earlier about opening a chest, and we're talking MASH here. And I remember on the show MASH, times where they would do rib spreaders.
Yeah, that's it.
And massage the heart.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to do that?
No, no, because I'm looking for our indication to go in there was to with a penetrating trauma.
Right.
And then so if you needed to get the heart going again, yes, she would be massaging it. You put saline on, you do all those measures. So yes.
Does massaging the heart replace the
pumping?
What do you call those things?
The electric shock,
yeah.
the paddles? No, that's a electrical stimulant. Sometimes you have to actually, do the electricals to get the heart pumping again. So you actually put the paddles on the heart.
On the heart itself.
On the heart itself,
okay.
And stimulate, jumpstart the heart, and once you get it going again. So that's what we would do. So the heart would be stopped. we would put put the Foley in there, which is a tube, which is actually the catheter that we put up in the penis or the urethra, the urology.
Right.
But we would use that and lock the hole, and then you'd start the heart again. And then once you get going, then yeah, you go, right.
I could not be happier that I asked you to do this. I really am. I'm loving this. Except for this moment, maybe the darkest moment of the conversation, and I apologize for asking. But you're so honest, and you will give honest answers always. Pediatric cases, when you would get a child in that was maybe suffering abuse of some kind, A, easy to tell that it was abuse, and B, what are the responsibilities from that point?
I mean, yeah, pediatrics was always the toughest ones. This was not a family that came in and they had a house fire. The kids didn't make it. The parents got out, but they died of smoke inhalation. That was tough, really tough. Kids that come in with cigarette burns, obviously, it is. So they're tough because you just know what's going on. I think the ones that I think that was the toughest for me is that when I believed that this was in a foster home, and the social workers vouched for the foster parents and thought that there was nothing wrong with the foster family. But I wanted to remove the child from the foster family because I thought that this was abuse. They had a broken femur. The story didn't fit. I called the pediatrician, I called the social worker, and I called the police. And I was admitting the child to get it out of the home. And the social worker, pediatrician, everybody, they all were against me, said no, they can vouch for this person, this is fine, blah, blah, blah. She went home. I think a week later or a month later, whatever it is, I got a call from the ER next door and say, hey, you saw this kid a while ago, they're back in my ER with another trauma. And so that was tough because
the system let them down.
Right, because I thought that it was, and everyone else said no. Maybe I needed to push harder. I don't know what I could have done, but yeah. So that was tough.
Did the child survive?
I don't know what happened in that ER.
That's horrible. And and again, that must be what an empty feeling that you can't follow up or can't get information down the road about what.
I mean, I'm certainly I could, but I don't
Right.
recall what happened.
Right.
Years ago. But I mean, that's the thing. There's so many cases to follow up on, so you can follow up and you have to do the research. There are things but the system is closed because they're not really supposed to tell me. But I'm grateful that they did share with me so that I could learn, and that's what we want. So not everyone does that, but I'm not so sure they're trying to do it so that you learn. They're just like, hey, you missed this thing.
Right. Are there different protocols for domestic violence against children than adults?
No, it's the same.
The
same. So when I get a domestic violence on a woman, typically it's a woman.
Right.
I get them to a secure house. You can try to call in the different services and find a place for them, and there are resources that we can get them to shelters as long as they felt safe. But majority of them have friends, family, some other place to go. Very few are truly don't have another place to go. So I have had to put people into shelters like that. So that does happen. I mean, the worst domestic case violence is the one where the husband came home and he was upset, I think, because the dinner was late. So he took the shotgun and he shot her. She held her hand up to protect her head, blew off part of her hand, blew off the right side of her face, and because it was shots, hit his child also, the little boy. So I had those two trauma, and then I wasn't seeing him. He was already taken into custody. But those kind of stories are tough.
Did you ever get called in to testify as to what the physical maladies were?
Okay, my worst case that I've ever had that I had to get testified was this guy who had gotten out of jail. So I do a lot of jail cases and medical clearances to booking and getting them cleared to go in and whatever. I don't remember what this, I'm sure it was a clearance for him. Anyway, so, and had to examine him, and I examined the tattoo on his penis. And I don't remember whatever it was. So anyway, he had gotten out of jail, and then he went home and raped his mom. And then, because I think I was somehow the witness about the tattoo on the penis somehow, I was being dragged into this thing about it, and so I don't remember. So finally, the DA was hounding me and like stalking me and I was avoiding him. I didn't want to have anything to do with this, but then somehow, whatever the deposition, whatever I gave, finally I was cleared of that. I didn't do anything.
So the tattoo, I imagine, was just a ruler that only went up to 2 inches, right?
Yes.
Was that the tattoo?
I don't remember what it was. It was a flower or something, but I don't remember what the significance of it was, what I saw that I needed to do this, because I had some major event, like, some major celebration that I had to go to at the time that I had to testify. I kept telling the guy, I can't make it. I can't be there. But
And I know you. We've known each other for a while. I've never heard any of these stories, and I'm right now going, my God, you have lived a life.
I forgot about that one.
You have lived a life here.
I should write them all down.
No, there's a book coming. I'm telling you right now, you and I right now, we're going to start working on a book for you. Amazing stories. Some of the and again, this is as dark as we can get here, and I apologize for it. But pregnant women that suffer some form of trauma, whether it's domestic abuse or something, what kind of things have you seen there?
So the Knife and Gun Club that I was at, the trauma center is around going to be a lot of gang activity. So this woman was pregnant, and they had their typical drive-by. So we would get a lot of drive-by people that got shot. But this woman, she ended up, she was pregnant, shot. Actually, I got my 15 minutes of glory on the news for this case. But she was shot in the chest, so I did the thoracotomy on her. So it was my colleague, the two of us. He was more senior to me, because you don't often have to do an emergency C-section. So I would have loved to have been the one to do the emergency section. To this day, I haven't done one of those. So he did the emergency C-section while I did the thoracotomy at the same time. So she ended up dying. We saved the baby, but it was a cocaine baby, so I don't know how well the baby did after that. But so anyway, so we saved the baby and didn't save her, but. That was that was the one trauma, pregnant lady. There's been others, but that's the most.
One that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that again. How do you go home, and how do you put that behind you and go to work the next day? That to me that's the miracle of a doctor. That's the oath you take right there. That's the Hippocratic Oath at its finest. Is seeing what you see, things like that, and then coming back the next day. That to me,
it's all in a day's work.
Right. For that emotional aspect of it, is that part of the college curriculum, the med school training?
I don't know.
Or do
I
people
think
just
people
fall out?
They fall out. They weed themselves out.
Right.
I think they pretty much weed themselves out. I think, those little cases that you're just talking about. I think the one that is the one that really affected me the most was when I had a miscarriage, and then you could actually see the fetus, the little. So for some reason, that one really.
A late term miscarriage.
Or so. I can't remember what it was, but it's fully developed, right? So, that miscarriage, that was more difficult.
I'm reading off of the text connect. Let's get to the hamsters, Ed. Okay. All right, yeah. So let's ask you about unusual objects.
There were
definitely.
There definitely was. So I didn't have to actually go in there and retrieve it, but just on an X-ray, they come with abdominal pain. So you do an X-ray, and you're like, did you realize you had a mouse in your rectum?
And I'm sure they did.
But they don't tell you that.
Right.
You're just coming in. Well, there was this one lady, she was gigantic, writhing in pain. Everybody asking her the question, couldn't figure it out. And the next thing, delivering a baby, because it wasn't abdominal pain. She was pregnant. She was actually delivering. But anyway, so.
She was so large, you couldn't tell she was pregnant.
No, she didn't tell anybody, and nobody knew, and they were working her up for abdominal pain, and next thing, I'm delivering a baby. That's because she was being trashed. Anyway, so, light bulbs, crystal balls, a lot of dildos. They always just say, I just happened to sit on it, I don't know how it got there, so for my part, it's just identifying it, and then if it was local enough, I could retrieve it. Otherwise, we just call the surgeon. They go to surgery, and they would remove those. I think the worst thing that I had to do was when you have toxic megacolon, when people don't actually poop, and they just store their poop, and they get these things called toxic megacolon, and they just have the big storage wastes in their colon. So we had to take that person to the OR, and I had my arm all the way up past my elbow, cleaning out that colon. Yeah, so that was not one of my favorite cases.
I would not imagine that it is, my God. And is that the cause of that is a colon cancer of some kind?
No, sometimes that's psychological, sometimes it's, functional. So, it could be that the autonomics are not working well, so now you identify it. If somebody's just ignoring, they just think, they're just comfortable, they never poop, they're all happy because they never had to poop before.
So two observations about that story you just told. One, there was a TV show for a while about this doctor that would go treat farm animals, and he would have to put his arm up a horse, which I can imagine and see, okay, well, that's a horse, that's a big animal. But a human being, you'd have to do the same thing, and my God, that's a big stretch.
This person was, it was a gentleman, so I don't remember how large he was, but and I'm more of a slight person, but I could get my whole
I
arm
don't care how, I'm looking at your arm right now. No, not a chance. That's not happening here.
Well, we were in the OR, so he was pretty relaxed.
And you, in your notes to me, you put in parentheses umbrella and machete.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those. So kind of trying.
Well, I'm here to remind you.
So there was this cleaning lady. She went out the back of the hotel, and there was a psychotic man with a machete, and he whacked her in the head. And she came in with the machete to her head.
In the head?
In the head. She went to OR, so I don't remember what happened, but she was awake, she was alert. But she went to the OR. I don't know if she had any residual damages. The other one was, I have to say, I couldn't hold a straight face because she was sitting on the gurney upright. The paramedics, of course, were behind her making faces at me, and she was coming straight at me, and she had this umbrella. She tripped and fell and stabbed herself in the neck and was lodged right in the neck, right in the middle, and she had to hold it up straight, and so she was sitting on the gurney with an umbrella, wheeling straight towards me with an umbrella. I had a hard time holding it in.
Oh my God.
But she did fine too.
Right.
She, I can't recall.
So when you pull the umbrella out, I imagine blood gushes.
You had to make sure where the structure is, where it is before you do any of that. So, yeah.
And I'll go back just for a moment to the unusual objects in the butt. And are you a fan of Seinfeld?
Oh yeah.
So where George Costanza's dad, Frank Costanza, falls on the pasta, on the Jerry's Fusilli Jerry, and he goes, "It's 1,000,000 to 1, Doc. I'll tell you, 1,000,000 to 1."
They weren't all rectum. Some of the vaginal also. So retrieve things too. So all that. Good.
This is illuminating, and you're a big hit on the text connect right now. Thank you everybody for texting.
Yeah, this was a Thanksgiving dinner talk at a very inappropriate time that I did this one time. Very few people have asked me to do that or come back.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, you're a hit today, and we're just in the fourth. It's a pre-Cinco de Mayo talk. Some of the most heartbreaking. And in San Bernardino, I had worked radio in San Bernardino for a while, and we did a visit to a burn unit.
Oh yeah.
And It was truly one of the most heartbreaking and heart-wrenching things I've ever seen. Our burn victims. What have you witnessed?
So yeah, there's many burn victims I dealt with, but the one that sticks out in my mind the most is the one, because this was in San Bernardino, also not a great area. And then you would get lots of drop-offs, right? So they would shoot them up and have an accident, and they would just drop them all off, right? So this one that they dropped off, they had doused in kerosene and set on fire, dropped him off, and the man was like dead men walking. He was walking. And we're a busy ER, but so he's coming in through the back door where they're normally not. And there's a L-shaped hallway. And so he comes through the door, walks down that L-shaped hallway, and then is coming down the main corridor. It was like it was like a statue museum. We all froze, our mouths open, staring for a moment, like trying to adjust. What is this thing?
What are we seeing?
What is going on? And then when we realized it was a human being walking who was burnt, then we took action. But yeah, that one was the most devastating that I had seen.
What's the first thing you do with a burn victim?
Oh, well, I mean, because you got to hydrate them, right? So hydration, because they've lost all their fluids. So we're usually looking at the percentage. So we calculate what is the percentage of burn, that coverage of your body. So, the chest could be 18%, a thigh is 9%, and we calculate it, and then we get how much fluids that you're going to need to replace that. And then because he was burned all over, then it's going to start to scar down and constrict. So you have to fillet the area so that they could expand and open, because there'll be swelling. If there's not swelling, you're going to cut off circulations and start losing limbs and things. So you have to...
By fillet, you mean
slicing, make a slice on a couple of sides so that it can expand. So he needed, all of it. His chest, his arms, the legs, everything.
And the long-term...
he's just... I don't know if he survived or not. I
right.
don't know, but if he did, he'd have to have skin grafts and
Okay. Wow. I'm just going wow. Swallowed objects. What if I imagine children are more susceptible, or you see more kids in
Yeah, we saw
objects?
kids, but I also had a lot of loons, right? So those were favorites, because they would come in with spoons, razor blades, batteries. They'd come in, swallow it, all things. So we'd have to see how dangerous it was, could it pass through. So we'd have all of that. But the one that really I remember the most is the kid came in choking, and the parents were all like, didn't know what to do, panicked, and they just rushed him in, bypassing all the paperwork. They just rushed him in, and I went in, I scooped in, and they had a quarter in the back, and I was able to retrieve the quarter and get it out, and the kid was fine.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on the success story there. We used to have a kid in elementary school, Todd, I won't give his last name, but Todd used to, for money, tell you, I'll swallow this penny. If you give me a quarter, I'll swallow a penny. And he would swallow various objects and beat me for $2 one day. That's all I had on me. Deliveries. Obviously, have you ever delivered a baby not at a hospital?
Well, I guess the car.
Okay.
The car was parked in front of the hospital.
Okay.
They didn't make it into the ER. I had to deliver the baby in the van. They had a minivan, and I delivered the baby in the minivan.
And if someone, for instance, can't make it to the hospital, everyone in every show I've ever seen is boil water. What is the process?
That's on some sterile, clean things, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you boil the water, you sterilize whatever it is that your hands, whatever.
Yeah.
But if someone can't make it to the hospital and they have to deliver it home, which used to happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the natural process of letting the woman have
you
comfort.
just.
What is it?
Well, I mean, once the baby, it's pretty much the head passes through. You have to make sure that before they take their breath, that you clear out all the mucus. If they had meconium stained or swallowed something, you need to suction all that stuff out. You have to make sure the cord isn't wrapped around the neck, that type of thing, because they get strangulated. So the head comes first, then the shoulder comes. So you're checking all that. So pretty much most of the babies, they don't have any of those issues, and they come out and they're fine, and they're still attached to the umbilical cord, and then they're, so it's a process, right?
And can you at home cut the umbilical cord?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, as long as it's clean and sterile, you don't give them tetanus, that type of thing. I mean, I just had a woman who did a home delivery. So recently I had a woman who had no prenatal care. I think she was new to this country, but she has 2 other kids here, or she's new to the state. I can't remember, but she was some other ethnicity. The husband was whatever. But they decided to do and not have a midwife because they had home deliveries before. So now she wanted to establish with me so that I could confirm she was pregnant and is delivering, and then she could get a birth certificate. Right, so she would need to get a birth certificate in here, so I was going to do that. So I was going to see her on a Saturday at 2 p.m., but she calls me at 12 p.m. before her appointment at 2 p.m. that she delivered the baby at 3 a.m. So now I cannot confirm that she was pregnant, and now she already had the baby, so then I had to sort that out. So I figured that out. But she delivered at home, no problems, uncomplicated, baby fine. And then and then I said, well, why don't you bring the baby in, the placenta in, I can document, I can say that, and I can do the exam, and I can say that you officially delivered. And she said, but I am doing the decidual placenta, which takes about 5 days, which means you leave everything attached, baby and placenta.
For 5 days?
And it takes about 5 days for the placenta to shrivel up and it to detach. I mean, the placenta is delivered from the mom, right? So that's delivered, but then it's still attached to the baby. So this is how it was done back in the day. And then the placenta just ends up shriveling up, and it's got a lot of nutrients. People ate it and did all that, and now the cord shrivels up and then it falls off. That's how it's done naturally. So you asked me about that. So if you're going to do it naturally at home, you might as well go all the way and just do the deciduous. Let the placenta just kind of, the cord dry up and fall off like it would normally do. But we don't do that. We rush things here.
Right.
We like to rush it all.
You gotta be home by 8 o'clock tonight.
I love delivering babies. That was always my fun part.
And do you need to spank it?
No.
No? Okay, because normally I remember seeing the baby get spanked in the butt.
No, it starts crying. It's crying. Okay. You're suctioning things. You're doing.
Okay,
but I always loved it when the OBs couldn't make it in, because I would be called up and I'd be delivering the babies. Sometimes I could say this because we're not naming any names. I did it better than the OB.
A lot of babies named Anita because of me right now, I'm sure.
But I think the most wild one I had is always the drug babies, right? The drug addicts. Right. I had to have this woman. This made me not enjoy delivery. I had to have at least 5 firemen on top of her to hold her still, to be able to, her arms, her limbs, her head, her body, to stop wiggling around, because it was actually, the baby was breech, so I had to, so it was,
you have to reach inside,
so she should have gone into a section, but it was small enough that the baby was small, and then she was just wild, and the baby was already crowning. If it had been the head, it would have been easy, but I had to, up and turn, and so it was a nightmare, but we got it delivered. But
you again, as much as I loved you before, you're my hero now, man. I'm telling you. Let's talk about some neurologic emergencies, constriction injuries or rings.
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite story once. Is that cock rings were popular. Right. I don't know if they still are, but at that time they were quite popular. But this guy decided not to get an official cock ring. He used, I don't know what kind it is, but it's some kind of washer or ring that was as thick as my baby finger, round, metal, so round, really solid metal. And he put that on. Well, he couldn't get it off, and then he's had left it, and now he's got swelling, and so there's just, now when you look at it, it's just a bunch of flesh there. You couldn't see anything. It was just everything swollen, and I was like, what's going on? He says, I have a ring. I'm like, where? I had to like move the skin and the scrotum and the penis, and kind of like, oh, there it is. So like finding it, I'm like, okay, well, I have to remove it. Well, there's no tools in the emergency room that's going to take care of this big thing. I mean, we have a ring cutter, other things. Those things were for delicate metal. So I called engineering, and I said, I need some bolt cutters. And at the size of the thickness that they needed, the length of the bolt cutter, I mean, it was very long.
It had to be like for a big lock.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
Like
so it was, and
lock.
then the jaws of that thing was like humongous. So I was like, so the nurse and I've got some gauze under there to mesh, so I can mesh all that skin down. So I got able to get the gauze in to mesh it, and then I was able to slide it over the gauze, and then I was able to clear it, and then I would tell engineering, okay, you're clear, you're good to go. And then they clamped, and then we had to do it on the other side, and then do the other side, so then I could just release it, right? So I mean, you have to figure all these things out. Like, you know, same with fish hooks. I got a lot of fish hooks everywhere. So it's the same thing with the hooks. You have to figure all that stuff out, all those types of things.
Amazing, amazing stories. Hundreds of texts here. So here, priapism. That's when a man hardens and can't soften.
Yes. So I had this young boy. He came in a couple of times. I don't know what. He kept swearing he wasn't taking drugs, but I think he was taking some allergy medicines or whatever. But he would keep getting an erection, and he couldn't get the erection to go down for hours. So then I would have to actually go in and, evacuate the blood, and then get some epinephrine to reduce it and do all of that stuff. So he was a young guy, so had to do it for him a few times. I think that was embarrassing for him because we knew him, so right, and the staff. I guess there was a gentleman though who took one of those Viagra's, one of those things, but it wasn't going down, and it'd been hours, days. It was been a long time. So actually, I had my male nurse help me this time, and I think he probably was not that comfortable having to, massage the penis,
right.
Try because I was trying to really reduce it. So we worked on that for quite a while, but it just wasn't responding. So we had to get urology, but I gave it a good college try.
So and you mentioned Viagra in the commercials. I used to love if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours.
Yeah.
Call your doctor. Tell your doctor.
Yeah.
And I would say, I'm telling everybody. Woo!
Well, they come into the ER.
So a question off the Text Connect, still within the same subject matter. An uncircumcised penis, if you pull the skin back and it bleeds, could you eventually bleed to death from that?
You pull the skin back towards the body?
I guess he's torn the skin from the head of the penis. I don't know. That's all.
Well, I mean, bleeding can stop. It's going to be vascular, and you just put pressure on it. It should stop. I mean, the only thing, unless you hit the artery. Arteries are where you're going to bleed to death. So I've had a lot of artery bleeds. but if you can actually clamp that artery and stop it and hold it, and basically when I would get an artery, I would just, I would suture it down. I'd clamp it off because I can't have somebody holding it forever, and it's not going to clot. It doesn't clot.
And this whole thing started from last week's conversation where you said someone tried to give themselves circumcision. Can a circumcision cause an artery? No?
Well, I mean, if they do it wrong,
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Like the guy that came into the ER.
Yeah.
Okay. This whole thing started back with that. Okay. Let's talk about, and I promise we'll get into the event here. Just a couple more here. Overdoses. And avoiding jail. If they're given the choice, they'll take the drugs to avoid jail.
Oh, yeah. So this is a big thing right now. Well, I mean, right now, because people want their streets clean, right? So we got loiters. They will pick them up. So the police will come and they'll say, "You want to go to jail or you want to go to the hospital?" So they usually come in to the hospital, and then they just leave right away. They'll just say something happened or whatever, or whatever. I say, "Do you have a real medical problem?" A lot of times, some of the nurses or the paramedics will say, "Oh, this one, they'll probably elope," meaning left without being seen, or left without being seen, LWOT, or just elope, or they get registered and they elope because they really just were escaping jail. So it's a lot of our taxpayer dollars going for the ambulances, tying up our system, using up resources. They coming into the ER all because we got to clean up the streets, and so they come into the ER. And then typically if they have drugs on them, then they tell them that they just took a bag of whatever, or they took this. And so now I've got to make sure that that they're not going to have a problem when they're going to go be booked. Right. So if they're being booking, so if the police comes in, and then I say, okay, either if I can clear them without doing all the testing and observation. So so it just ties up our resource. I have police sitting around for 6 hours while I'm clearing a guy or a woman because they said they swallowed something or whatever. So it's that's what's going on now.
You do heroic work. You do your entire career, and I'm hearing it right now. Your entire career is heroic, and I often say that you were on the ground during incredible outbreaks with hazmat suits as your science background, and then the ER that we're talking about. But you say that a defining moment in your ER career was saving a man with chronic illness who, instead of feeling relieved, was angry because he had to return to a life of very poor quality with limited energy, as well as dependence and ongoing suffering. Well, your wellness facility now is preventative.
Right.
It's taking preventative measures so that those feelings, those maladies don't happen in someone. Which brings me to May 14th.
Right.
May 14th, you are, it's a private health span experience for those who refuse to age passively. Thursday, May 14th, the secret to staying strong and sharp and independent. It starts at 5:30. Tell us what we can expect.
So it's basically, I just want people to know that they have more control, because that's what I would hear. I mean, that guy really shocked me, because most of the time when I save somebody's life, they're very grateful, thankful, family, everybody, but he was outright mad at me. and then I would always have these people complaining about golden years not being golden, right? And pains, all that. So I want people to know golden years can be golden, that you can age well with vitality, and you don't have to be in pain, and you can, because most people will say, oh, I'm preparing for when I get older, and they are downsizing, and they're moving out of their house, and they're getting rid of their stairs, and they're not wearing their my mom's 94. She wore heels to the 90th birthday party. I mean, she looked hot. I mean, for 94 years old. You can still be that way, but yeah, you got to plan. You gotta be proactive, and you can't abuse your body, and you gotta understand your blueprint, your genetics, and what you need. And people would say that, like you said, that I come from my mom has great genetics, but then I was looking over it because we had a photo of, because we had this 90th birthday.
You sent me that photo.
And I was, like, somebody else said it, and I said, well, look at this photo. And the two oldest one were standing on a stool, so cute. But the oldest brother, he died of throat cancer. Then comes my mom. The second is the twins. The boy died of colon cancer. The girl died of ovarian cancer. Then comes the next boy, younger than my mother. He ended up having diabetes with heart stents. Unfortunately, he went to celebrate in Bali, and then he was doing parasailing. They slammed his head into a boat, so he died of a traumatic brain injury. But he had disease and had to have surgery. my mother, my mother has hypertension, but we control it, we manage things, but her mother had a stroke. My mom's 94. So, and then after that one comes the third aunt. She's had blood clots. Then comes the youngest, another next sibling younger than my mom she had breast cancer, and then the youngest one had breast cancer. So would you call that good genetics?
No, I would call that bad genetics, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So we work at it so that she has a vital and a quality life at 94 is because of the things that we do. And that is what I'm going to show you at that event. And it's going to be for you personally.
And it's not just a matter of helping people physically. When you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy as well.
Right.
Everything it's this big circle of love and good health is what it is. So how can people register?
Well, you can call us, or there's going to be an Eventbrite site. But if you go through Eventbrite, they charge you extra. There's a fee.
Okay.
So I have put a link in there, so you just pay for the event pricing, and that pricing gets you credit for treatments and a membership. I can't do it I'm not doing it for the event, because there's obviously, they have to collect their fees. So you can, if we get that up and running, you can do it on that, or you can call me at 949-734-0580, or you can message me at ANITAWANGMD.com and book a complimentary call, or
Okay. I'll say it once again. It's Thursday, May 14th. You can age less and live more. Dr. Wang's Secret to Staying Strong, Sharp, and Independent. Arrival and welcome happens at 5:30, and then the entire educational experience starts about 5:45. It's very important to say, yes, the reservation fee is $125, but that entire $125 is used as credit for treatment or membership. And that's a great deal. Dr. Anita Wang, I cannot thank you enough for sharing these stories with us today.
My pleasure.
And we'll do it again sometime. Maybe Halloween we'll do another
Okay.
version of this. It's 12:02. It's the Voice of Laguna. Thank you, Dr. Wang.